Hey, it's Kevin DeWitt here and welcome to another plugin knowledge session. In this session, we're going to check out a plugin called Magneto II from Steinberg. So firstly, if you are new to my channel, new to my videos, and you like what you see here, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. So we're continuing on for previous videos, checking out some of the interesting plugins or tools included in Cubase Pro and potentially lower versions of Cubase. And in this video, we're going to check out Magneto II, which is a tape emulator. So lots of people are adding tape emulators to their mixes these days, get that analog warmth, emulate the classic days in recording studios of recording to tape and all that sort of stuff. And Steinberg have included one in Cubase Pro for free. So it's free, why not check it out? So let's check it out now. Okay, so here we are in Cubase and I've got open the Magneto II plugin. And I've just got it across on a song here and we'll just go through the controls quickly. So if it's not pretty obvious, this plugin is supposed to emulate tape. Yeah, a tape machine, basically. I mean, the manual states that it simulates the saturation and compression of recording on analog tape machines, right? So just like any other tape emulator that we've got in our plugin section that, you may already have some or whatever else, but obviously we're going to look at the inbuilt ones that Cubase provide, at least in the Cubase Pro. I'm not sure if it comes with all of the Cubase versions, but it comes with Cubase Pro, that is for sure. Okay, so from a control point of view, it's not overly complicated. We have an on-off button here, but we can also bypass on bypass up there. We have a saturation control. Okay, so this determines the amount of saturation and generation of overtones. This leads to a small increase in input gain. All right, so this is just what the manual states. This button here actually, sorry, it's not the plugin on and off. It's actually the saturation on and off. So it just turns this saturation on or off if you prefer to have it cleaner. Okay, dual mode here, as it states in that little pop-up there, simulates the use of two machines. So if we turn it on, it simulates having two tape machines as opposed to one tape machine. Now, I'm not sure if that's for the left and right function or that is purely having two tape machines. I really don't know, and the manual doesn't actually state it. Okay, then we have a frequency section here. So it basically states these parameters set the frequency range of the spectrum band to which the tape effect is applied. For example, to avoid the saturation of lower frequencies, set the low value to 200 Hz or 300 Hz. To avoid the saturation of very high frequencies, set the high parameter to values below 10 kHz. So it's just controlling what frequency range our saturation is having an impact on. All right, we have a solo button over here, which allows us to hear only the set frequency range, including the tape simulation effect. This helps you to determine the appropriate frequency range. Yes, of course. We then have a HF adjust, which is a high frequency adjustment. All right, so it sets the amount of high frequency content of the saturated signal. And the button here activates or deactivates the high frequency adjust filter. And that is pretty much it. All right, we have some meters here. And yeah, there's not much else to it. We have obviously some presets here. So, we could dial in something like master warm and we get a few things like that. But let's start with a bypass. Okay, I'll leave it on master warm. We'll have a bypass for a moment and then I'll just bring it in and we'll see what happens. Right, there's obviously an output volume here, which I didn't mention as well. So we can adjust this to get our plugin, gain matched, so we don't have any increase in volume. If we are getting an increase with the saturation. Okay, so this is the song. Now if we bring it in just on master warm, so you can hear there's a bit of a difference there. It's quite a bit to my ears. Okay, you can see here we've got our meters here, we've got our input and output, so we can see we're not quite balanced. So in theory, we could drop this down. I'd actually disagree with that, to be honest, because it doesn't sound balanced when I do that. Even though the output for the meters shows it's louder, it doesn't actually sound louder. It sounds louder in bypass mode if I dial that down. So that's really weird. All right, so let's have a look at each setting individually. And so if we solo, this is what we're listening to, including the saturation. Let's turn this off as well. So let's just simplify things. Okay, so we are just soloing this control set here. So you can see that's basically the full range. But if we want to dial in something subtle, so we're not saturating our low end or we're not saturating our top end, then we can control something like this. It's a pretty interesting concept, to be honest, because we have this great flexibility in regards to our plugins, but I would imagine in the real world, if we were using analog tape, we wouldn't have this ability. Most of the time you would think that we would be, saturating the entire song, because how would we selectively do frequencies? But, obviously in this day where we have these plugins, we have the ability to have greater control. So let's just widen it up, right? Let's go for the whole song. Now, turn the saturation on, dial it down. So there's definitely a boost. Now it's still a subtle saturation. It seems a bit more of a boost than anything. Obviously it is saturating a little bit, but it's not like it's distorting. It's not going gnarly even when we push it to 100% there. So we might want to just add a little bit in there. Dial it back. Too much. Turn the solo off. Now, I just want to have a listen to this high frequency adjust. So let's put it to 0. So I've got in solo again. Yeah, so it's like a brightness control. So we can really dull our song down, or we could boost it up. Now, obviously, if we had this narrowed down as well, I'm not quite sure what that would do. So it seems to be independent from this frequency range here, because if I have it in solo, can you hear how dull that is? This really has no impact at all. If we take it out of solo, you can see that it's not really impacting that at all. So this control here really is an independent control. So I guess the advantage of this is if we find that our tape saturation is dulling our song down a bit, we can compensate by doing a bit of a boost here. But you can also go the other way. If you want to make something sound a little bit more vintage style, you can roll a bit off. All right, so let's say we just roll a bit off like that. And I'll just get it all the way up for the sake of it. All right, so we've got it like this. Want to go for a bit of a vintage sound. Take a little bit of that edge off that high shimmer as well, but it could also dull it down. So if we found, like I said, if we were saturating a bit and we found it was dulling our signal a bit, well, that's interesting. That is now getting pretty nasty. Okay, so that's what that does, right? So it's just a little bit of a compensation, a little bit of a sweetener there, or a little bit of a duller there, just to you know, take a little bit extra off, you know, make it more of a older style tape. Now, I'm curious about this dual mode. Okay, I think that literally does do two tapes together, because that amount of distortion we can get is a lot higher. If you really want to crunch something up, even if you just wanted to attack the mid-range, basically it goes from this to this. Single tape mode, the dual tape mode. Okay, so very interesting there. So let's have a look at some of their presets, because you know there's really much else you can do with this. It's pretty much what it is, and the thing with this is that being a tape, if you're putting it on the whole song, you're going to want to keep it subtle. So let's just check out what this reel to reel is. Okay, so we're going to tape mode, a little bit of saturation, no filter, adding a bit of top end back in. be adding a little bit of extra life, a little bit of extra girth to the song. All right, let's try something else. More bass. Okay, so basically their concept with more bass is that they are saturating just the low end. In dual tone mode, they're brightening the song as well. I mean, you'll definitely get more bass, but it's also going to distort that bass. Now, the more air, they've gone the opposite way, right? So they're filtering out the low end and only saturating the top end. Okay, yep, that definitely works. Let's have a look at on some sort of instrumentation. All right, let's chuck on one of their presets for drums. Adding life to it. So you can see here they're not saturating the very low, so they're trying to exclude like the sub range of the kick. They're still getting the kick in, but not the very sub range, not the rumble, I guess. They're doing pretty much all the top end. They're just rolling off a little bit of the top, just excluding the very high end there. But you can hear the extra that it's putting in there. So you can hear the extra girth that this is adding to the drums, extra life. So if we play it again. I mean, they're doing a fair bit of saturation, not dual tape mode though. Or it could do that. Now it is adding volume. I'll drop it a bit. All right, let's try one of the other ones. Okay, so this one's more all of the range, less saturation though. So this one here excludes pretty much all of the kick because we're up to 250 hertz here. So we're excluding all of the low end, doing the top end, adding a little bit of shimmer on top, a fair bit of saturation. That actually sounds pretty good. It's adding a nice bit of life there. Okay, let's try something else. You got mid boost. Definitely mid boost. Now, I'd probably EQ this acoustic anyway if I was to do this, but let's try. That's interesting. So this preset tape crunch goes into solo mode. So, okay, so I guess that's a concept which maybe most people don't think of, that you could use this as an effect by actually leaving solo on and printing your mix with this in solo. So we really get this really lo-fi, sound. Like they've cut the high frequency here, dulled it. They're saturating quite a bit of the mid-range here and left it in solo so that we've taken out all of the low end, taken out all of the top end. And yeah, tape distortion, they've gone for the same approach, but now pushed it right up to 100 and gone in dual mode. I mean, that sounds really gnarly, but the concept's there. So yeah, I mean, even myself, I didn't come across in my mind to think of doing that, but using the solo button in these plugins as an actual tool to create an effect. It seems so obvious when you see them do it. You think, oh, but why didn't I ever think of doing that? So that's definitely something to contemplate doing because, in regards to, let's say we go back to this tape crunch, you could even go thinner and create that sort of telephone effect. We sort of get that intro to Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd type thing, or any other one of those songs that starts with that sort of emulating a small radio in your room effect. Build it up into that and then bypass it and bang, you're into the full mix. I like that. I think that's actually a very good use of that. That's definitely a unique approach. And I've been contemplating that myself going forward with certain mixes. Definitely a useful tool. I mean, you can obviously do all of this with EQs and whatever else, but it's a nice effect to do it with the tape saturation here. And you can actually see, okay, so this vocal megaphone, they've almost done sort of that. I mean, it doesn't sound right on the guitar, but you can get the impression there. They're really crunching it and narrowing that field down again with the solo button, dulling the high frequency down to try and get a megaphone sound. Now, I'm not sure. Let me have a look. I think I do have one here of me speaking. So if we just bring that up, let's just mute it for a second. Uses and functions. So that's me talking. This voiceover. So I'm going to speak loudly in certain parts, and then I'm going to drop my voice slowly in certain parts. Yeah, it sounds pretty close to a megaphone as well, just to show some sort of effects there, and maybe just a bit of a... Yeah, that was a voice recording for some testing, but that's fine. So yeah, so you got many effects that we can use for this, or We just, more traditionally, what we're probably going to use it for is something similar to this, where we're just adding a little bit of warmth to our song and adding that tape effect there as if we were trying to get some analog influence into our digital based song, right? That's what everybody's striving for these days. And we, Cubase Pro is giving us a tool to be able to do that. Now, as I said, there's many other tape emulators out on the market there. I have some from UAD, there's Slate Digital, there's Waves, all of them have these. But if you've got Cubase Pro, check out Magneto, because it may save you some money not having to buy additional plugins, and it may do exactly what you want it to do. Is it as good as the other ones? Well, I'm not really going to comment on that because I think this is doing a good job. They obviously emulate certain tapes and things like that. I'm not sure if this really emulates it or it's just doing some sort of saturation distortion type effect to try and give you the sense of tape, but it's not truly emulating a tape machine. I don't know if that's the case or not. They don't say it, so I assume it's not. But that does not mean that it is not worth using. It is included in the software, so why not try it out? See if you like it. So there you go. That's Magneto 2 from Steinberg. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. If you have any questions, please feel free again to put it in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion about it. Do you use this plugin on your mixes, or do you prefer other third-party tape emulators? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion on that and what plugins you'd like to use in regards to tape emulators. Obviously, this is included in Cubase Pro, so it's definitely worth checking out, because if it can give you the results and save you some money, why not give it a shot? Again, if you like what you see here, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. I really do appreciate the support that everybody gives me. Hopefully the video has been helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.